What's up YouTube, and welcome back to KangBrosTV. We're gonna bang through all the boxing reviews because everyone asked for cover them all, so we're gonna cover them all as quick as we can. So first video we're gonna cover is Anthony Yarde versus Arthur. Now, Arthur won. How did you feel about the result? How did you feel about the result reaction? Did you agree with Anthony Yarde, or did you agree with the verdict and how it turned out? What's your take on it?
I don't see how there's any reason to be surprised or upset about the outcome of that fight. For me, I watched that fight and I thought to myself, yes, you did come forward, but coming forward doesn't mean that you stop all sense of defence. He had his head popped back. Every time he threw a jab, his head was popping back. Now, I'm sorry, but these lot, I mean, they've been doing this, they've been boxing for the whole lives. You know that just because you come forward and get clocked doesn't mean that you're going to, oh yeah, I showed aggression, but you got caught. So I'm sorry, and I don't like it. And to be fair, I hate saying stuff like this, but I thought it was some bitch behaviour, man. At the end, like it's the way, he's like a sport kid a little bit, and I didn't rate that, especially from Yarde, because we've been following him for a long time. Do you know what I mean? And I was a bit like, nah, you're better than that, man.
That's the thing. We're big fans of Yarde, and I still believe that he'll become world champion. That's my personal opinion. I don't know if you.
I don't.
You don't agree? No.
I don't think so.
So I still believe he has the capability of becoming a world champion, but like you said as well, the way he behaved, I think it was all emotional. Like I think when he takes a step away from it and hopefully watches the fight, I think even though he didn't watch the fight, he still agreed with his actual initial reaction. Like he felt that he won the fight. So I'm baffled because for me, Yarde should have won this fight, and the latter rounds showed that he had some superior skills really to beat this guy. He had the power as well to rock Arthur, and Arthur was shook around the 12th round. For me, I think a lot of people already touched on it, is why it took him so long to put it on him. You essentially lost to a guy with one arm. He literally felt with the jab, and everyone talks about the foundations of boxing and how if you've got a solid jab, you can
Work behind your jab.
Yeah, right. And he did that for the whole fight. And I'm sorry, the cards for me were spot on, and it was going very tight into the last round. So you can't really argue.
Well, I don't know. I find it weird that one of the cards had Yarde so far. One of them had him so far ahead. That's where I look at it. And I think to myself, like, I don't know, man. That some of these judges, we've seen them in the last couple of weeks now. Even Dubois fight, some guy had Dubois winning by a comfortable margin. So I'm looking at it, thinking to myself, I don't know what this judging, what the criteria is.
The simple question is this, right? Do you think, like, going into this fight, the champion was Arthur? Has Anthony Yarde done enough to take his belt away from him? You answer that question.
No, he didn't.
Absolutely not.
And I also think, and this is where Frank Warren, I do have to look at him a little bit and say, right, listen, I know that you backed Yarde, Yarde your guy or whatever, just like Dubois was your guy, but everything was set for Yarde. It was always about Yarde this, Yarde that, Yarde this. You'd think that they just pulled Lyndon Arthur off the street and said, listen, jump in, bro. We need to sell all of our fighters, and you're going to be the recipient of a beating. That's what it felt like the whole time. No one gave Lyndon Arthur his props. No one was. I thought the way he held it, I thought he held himself quite well when he was talking about it. It's easy. If it was anybody else, they would turn around and be like, "Bro, stop whinging.
Get me.
I just clarted you for 12 rounds. You had every opportunity, just like anybody else, and you've done nothing." So I thought he handled himself quite well.
Yeah.
But it always looked like he was the B side, like he was like the C side, because it's like they didn't give him any props for anything they'd done. I'm like, is someone going to talk about how he just jabbed this guy's head off? Is anyone going to mention that? He used one hand. He didn't even throw his right. So,
and no one's kind of answering posed the question to Tunde Ajayi. Now, I'm going to raise this point. Tunde is a funny guy. He does content on boxing, so fully respect for that, right? But you got to ask questions, because first of all, he overhyped Yarde going into the Kovalev fight, and people are saying that he ran out of
he gassed
out.
Yeah.
And then now here, Tunde actually, I can't remember what round it was. He actually said to me, you know what? He goes, I might be right, I might be wrong, but he's not used his right. He's not used his right. So then, what was the plan to get him to force him to use that right? You can clearly see that right's not working. Something's happening. So put the pressure on. And that's why in the 12th round, when Yarde did put the pressure on, and Arthur had to use his right, he was getting lit left, right, centre. He was all over the gaff, and he was holding on. Let's be honest. So, do you think that Tunde? Like, I don't want to say this whole stuff about you change coaches. I know he's been with him for a long, long time, but could a different coach get more out of Anthony Yarde? You have to ask that question. I'm sorry. And Tunde has to ask himself that as well.
It's fair enough. And I think I actually think that, I know it's been a tough year for Anthony Yarde, and he's gone through a lot. So he didn't seem himself for me. I just thought his movements, his actions, what he was saying and doing didn't really quite seem his normal self. I don't really think this is probably the right time for him to be having a fight. Obviously, he could be the better judge of that. He knows better than anybody else.
But
I just look at it and I think to myself, a lot's happening this year for him, and I think he just needed to just get through it and then maybe attack it again next year. But it didn't seem like he was himself. And I think you're right with Tunde. Listen, again, respect to Tunde for doing what he does, and he has done some good things in boxing. But you look at it and think to yourself, like, I don't know, maybe someone like who was the guy that was David Hayes trying for ages? George Groves and Thingy's one.
Yeah,
I forgot his name.
Got his name, man.
But but for me, someone like that who's a quite slick operator, knows how to get the best out of somebody. You know what I mean? That's for me the sort of person that I'm looking at, thinking, like that would take him. I don't know. If, I agree with you. I find it hard to. You don't want to be disrespectful, but I do think that the 2 defeats that he's had. I look at the corner. I think some of the information given, I think, was a bit off.
It was. And now moving forward, like, where does he go from here now? Like, I don't think this is over.
Adam Booth.
Adam Booth. But even like Tyson Fury's ex-coach. Do you know what I mean? He's solid as well. So there's so many different coaches that you could try. But like I said, I know there's a relationship they've built there for a long time. I don't want this kind of stuff keep changing coaches. If you're happy with him, fair play. But you got to ask questions for yourself. That's all I'm saying. I think Tunde will be doing that because he's that type of person. But for me, it's a bit worrying. I think from the corner, I think that you could be getting more out of Anthony Yarde because he's got so much ability. Like, his defensive's good.
He's got good skills levels. I just think,
what I'm saying, and power.
And he's in a division where getting to all the way to the top is, if you had to pick one of the divisions, you'd say that was the one that you could probably you could achieve the world status on it. But like I said, that for me puts him back a few steps because what next? What next now?
Because this was meant to be literally, like you said, slapping season. Like, no offense to Arthur, this was like Arthur knew this going into the fight. It was meant to be slapping season and then getting back into this whole world level of boxing and just and it didn't work out. They're talking about a rematch next.
Well, there's a clause in there for a rematch.
What do you think? Same result? What do you think?
I actually think it will be different because I think Yarde's going to be like, you know what, this guy couldn't hurt me, so I'm just going to run through it, and I know that I might have to take 1 or 2, but once I get in close, I can take this guy out. I think, but then saying that, he might be using his right a bit more. He might be injury free, but it's sticky now. It's very sticky because let's just say he catches 1 more L, a lot of people are going to turn their back and say, right, well, I ain't got to take this fight. People at world level are going to be like, do you know what? He actually ain't bad. I don't have to take that fight anymore. So that's where it's tough. Respect to Lyndon Arthur. I think people need to give him a bit more respect for what he done. I thought he jabbed brilliantly. I thought for someone who's carrying an injury, which was clear that he was, I thought he put in a performance that people need to respect. People need to respect that. And I hate this whole, it's a fix, it's a travesty or whatever. Because listen, okay, yeah, even if you felt it was a bit closer, you can't turn around and say it was robbed. You can't say it was a robbery.
Is that the question I asked? And like, people think it was just a fight. It's a normal fight. It wasn't. Arthur was a champion going into this fight. And he did not do enough. And you have to ask a question you got asked.
That's it. It's honestly, it wasn't a robbery. So fair play, and I think, like I said, take the rematch, but be very careful now because it could be a slippery slope.
So we're gonna leave it with a question for the fans: is do you believe that Anthony Yarde is still gonna go on to be a world champion? I believe he will. You're saying
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
And also, I'll ask a question: do you think his response, reaction, and the way he carried himself after the fight? Are you cool with that, or are you thinking that he's going to have to come back and actually reassess that and say, you know what, I'm better than that?
I agree. So until the next one, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and definitely comment. Peace.